Hey, good evening, everybody. Dan here, and I haven't done one of these little pop-up videos in a while where I just have some thoughts about something and share it. Normally, I do my Pop Go the Writers show, or I do my Dan Wickline show during the week. But I actually wanted to put out there, I have three specific Moon Knight theories that I wanted to share real quick. So let me put my phone on silent just in case. Now, so these are my three theories after watching the first two episodes of Moon Knight. And if you have not been watching the show, you definitely should be. It is by far probably the best Marvel series so far. So these are my three theories. And they all kind of tie together a little bit, but let's break them down. Feel free to jump in, comment as we go if you want. But theory number one, we've seen a lot of things being done for Stephen while he's not in control of the body. Now, Gillen was asked out. That's the tour guide from the museum. And someone keeps the myth of his mother going, because I don't believe his mother's real. I believe it's just he's always leaving answering machine messages. He keeps getting postcards that are for sale at the gift shop at the museum he works at. So I don't think his mother is real. And someone keeps sending the postcards and paying for his flat, because we found out this week that the flat is supposed to be his mother's, stuff like that. After the cupcake truck, someone put him back in bed, fixed the sand so it looked good, shackled his leg. Now, someone tries replacing his goldfish after it appears to have died. He puts the bed back after the jackal attack. He's put back in bed after the jackal attack, again with the shackle in place, smooth sand. These are all things to keep the illusion of Stephen's life alive. Now, the more we get to know Mark, the less that it seems like he'd be the type to do these things, doesn't it? Mark has a cot in a storage unit. He's not worried about getting Stephen home. He's more likely to sack out in the cot. But Stephen's never heard of that place. So if Mark falls asleep on the cot and Stephen ends up awake in his bed, somebody has to get him from point A to point B. Now, Mark's wife, he's got a wife and he's in the process of divorcing her, but he does still care about her. So I can't see him asking anyone out for Stephen. I couldn't see him, even with how dangerous he knows things are, him bringing someone into Stephen's life. So I think that's another thing that just as a strike against it. I think it's pretty clear that there's a third personality, and it's likely the missing Jake Lockley persona from the comics. In the comics, Jake's the streetwise guy. He's the taxi driver. He goes out, gets the information, stuff like that. And we don't really have that type of character here. Stephen in the comics, of course, Stephen is more of the Bruce Wayne type or the Lamont Cranston type. But here he's much more the everyman, neurotic, anxiety-ridden guy. But there does seem to be that middle connection needs to happen. Now, he's been diagnosed with dissociative identity disorder, which is often thought of as multiple personalities. But in truth, it's multiple personality aspects. So instead of it being, well, this guy's, it's not like each personality is complete. If you combined all of the various aspect personalities together, you are more likely to get a whole person. Mark is the alpha male protector. Stephen is the quiet, nerdy, and safe person. So there is this other person that watching over Stephen in a way that Mark never would. And I want to say motherly-like, but, parental in aspect. So that's just one thought on it. Theory number two. Now, there's about an 8-year difference in actual age between Oscar Isaac and May Kalamaui. I'm never going to get that name right, but that's as close as I think I can get. There's 8 years between the two. Now, that big of an age difference isn't that big a deal, but if they've been around together a while, then maybe that age difference was a little closer. Because if you watch closely, and that's what I get paid to do, you look at Mark's passport when they show it. It was last issued shortly after the snap happened. The date on it is just after the snap, which means that he wasn't dusted. Now, we may find out later on that Layla was snapped away, and Mark continued looking for the scarab while she was away, grieving her loss. And then when she comes back, he's more interested in protecting her than he is about being with her. And that's why he's created this distance. Now, she comes back and she's still fully in love with him, like no time has passed. So she's been looking for him for the last few months, trying to find out if he's alive. There's a chance that he hasn't seen her since the snap, if this scenario works out. So that could explain why there's a bigger age gap between them now, but also why she's calling, now after all this time, she's calling so much and reaching out so much is because this is all still fresh to her, where for Mark, this has been years. This is 5-6 years later. So I think that's a possibility. So there's a chance that one got snapped, that Mark didn't get snapped. I think we know Mark didn't get snapped, but there's a chance Layla got snapped, and that's part of what is driving this distance and why he's so much worse now than he was when they were together. Now, the third theory. In episode 2, Mark says that normally he's able to keep a wall between himself and Steven, but something has changed. Now, I think this is the introduction of the scarab, because when we see the scarab for the first time, Mark was on a mission, but jumps out the window, whatever it is, he hits the ground, his jaw's dislocated or broken. Steven wakes up and he finds a scarab in the pocket. Now, that's when it starts. So basically the first time that Steven takes control on a mission and sees anything's wrong is when then Mark has now gained possession of the scarab. And all the time they're in that little village and dealing with the cult of Amat, the transformations back and forth are happening like crazy. As soon as they're out of immediate danger, Steven takes back over, back and forth. So I think that the scarab is what's breaking that wall down. The power of the scarab is actually causing Mark to not be able to control the situation as well as he had. I mean, in the village itself, he's holding the scarab. He's Steven. He's fighting it. He's trying to give it away. Khonshu's keeping him from doing it. As soon as it's pulled out of his hand, his eyes flitter, he rolls back, and then a second later, we see Steven standing around a bunch of dead or unconscious people holding the bloody scarab again. And that's kind of, things don't get back to somewhat normal until they're back in London and the scarab is in the storage unit away from them. So I think that's what the problem is. So that's pretty much my thoughts. Those are my 3 theories. Thank you for listening. That's my sharing. I will talk to you guys later. Have a good night.